This week on Adventures with Peps, we paint the iconic supporting character Mean Machine. He's butted his way through the Dreadverse ever since his debut in Judge Child back in 1980. I am so excited to paint this model. It's a beautiful piece. He has so much detail on him. I think the contrast paints are going to work so well with it. I'm very excited. As mentioned, he's been around since the 80s and he's had multiple miniature versions, which I think in a separate video we'll take a look at all them. But yeah, I hope you're going to like, I hope you're going to comment, subscribe, all that good stuff whilst we paint. And I really hope I can do this justice with some army speed paints. Look at it, just so much detail. This character in the comics, he was just so crazy in the Judge Child. He headbutted his way through some disastrous scenarios and then he was ultimately defeated to only come back later. Ooh, we're going to start off with Crusader skin. But yeah, as a child, he was raised within the Angel Gang and he was the sweetest child ever, having loved butterflies and plants and just enjoyed life like a normal child. His dad, Power Angel, couldn't have a soft child, as he called him. So he had a local doctor remove parts of his brain and his arm and gave him this mean claw and a weird clock device on his forehead that can control his anger levels. And he created the Mean Machine. So we're using Crusader flesh to pick out his arm, his chest and neck, and a little bit of his face. Now, in most of the artwork, he is wearing kind of grey trousers and a dirty tank top, which we're going to try and duplicate. The only thing is I want some colour on him. So as you probably saw in the opening image, I went for a green on his trousers. But I tried to stay true to the comic as much as possible. But I do like my characters to look a little bit more colourful. But yeah, Mean Machine throughout the years has just kept reappearing in Judge Dredd, and I think it's just because the fans love him. He is a hilarious character. There's even a couple of times where he's teamed up with Judge Dredd. There was one where they had to go into the Cursed Earth together, and Mean Machine was Judge Dredd's guide. And then in another one, the two of them team up to take on a DC character in a crossover, which was Judge Dredd, Mean Machine, and the Bounty Hunter Lubo. That was a weird comic. I'll have to dig that up and take some photos and stick in the community bit. There we go. Flesh is now done. We're going to let that dry up for a bit. And move on to Purple Alchemy. Now, I'm going to use this on some sores and scars that he has on his flesh. I'm going to try and get this done whilst the Crusader tone is still a little bit wet, because this will cause some fake blending, as I'm going to call it. But yeah, anywhere that you can see the cybernetics, I just want to put a little bit in there. Make the skin look sore, make it look damaged. This was done in a dirty Cursed Earth desert hospital. I can't imagine that it was good for his health or even the doctors after he was created. This model is just full of little details. As you can see, I'm using a little bit of water just to soften the colours together. And then we're going to move on to the Gravelord Grey, which is just purely for the base. So we can skip forward a little bit. Final touches. I like to do this. It's just lazy on my half. I got some lighter grey that I then dry brushed the base to give me kind of a concretey look. It's not very exciting. It's just sand, PVA, and grey. I like very flat, very generic bases, so it can be used on anybody's table within reason. And at this point, I need the skin to dry, I need the base to dry. So the only area that I can really touch at this moment is the brown section, so I grab the hardened leather I'm going to start off by picking out the belt. And through the power of editing, the belt is pretty much done. I'm not being super tidy. You don't need to be. This model, he's from the cursed earth. He's dirty, he's filthy, he's an outlaw. Anywhere that the brown overruns is absolutely fine because it'll just look like a bit of built up grime, bit of built up dirt. He's already taken shape in my opinion. The flesh has come out a lot better than I expected it to. I'm really happy with the process so far. Next stage is the sand golem. I'm going to use this for his boots mostly. Reason for this is I wanted a different color leather than his belt, but I didn't want it to be like dark woody color. This is going to be sun bleached, damaged leather, so it's a little bit brighter than the rest. This color just goes on wonderfully. Not too worried about it seeping into the ground or any of the ground color seeping up onto the boot. They'll just merge together, and I'm fine with that. As usual with most of my paint jobs, it's designed to look good from 3 foot away. It's designed to put paint on models and to make your games a bit more fun. As always, if you want to know a pro painter to follow, reach out in the comments and I'll drop a few links. There's definitely some amazing painters out there that can teach you how to do some wonderful things with speed paint. I'm just here to show off my hobby and how I get stuff done. It's probably a good time to say like, comment, subscribe. We're slowly sneaking up. I need to get into the habit of doing the community posts a bit more. I've unlocked it and I've done a couple of posts. It's just I keep forgetting that it's an option these days. There you go, the boots are done. They look very sci-fi to me. That's kind of a yellow. Then move on to runic grey. By now, if you've watched enough videos, you know I use this instead of metallic paint. I don't like metallic paint, and I think the reason is my Necrons and my Space Marine army, the Executioners, both heavily use metallics. And I think between those two armies, I've burnt out on using them. So as far as the Judge Dredd line goes, I'm trying not to use metallic paint where possible. So anything that's meant to be silvery or like a metallic lead, I'm using this runic grey. And then depending on if it's silver, I just use the runic grey. If it's meant to be like a lead or a steel, I'll hit it up with a black wash, which is what I do with this. Helps darken it down, it helps dull it down. That's going to be a stage right at the end of this process. I also find that the washes help seal the speed paint. It's going to sound weird. I learned it from, God, good English there, John. I learnt it from Mediocre Hobbies. He always covers his models in a wash, and he explained why. It makes sense. It's kind of sealing it in. I definitely find it helps when it comes to actual varnishing the model. Having that wash on stops the paint reactivating or wiping off. These are very gentle paints. They will wipe off. And that is his arm done. We just got his head to do. And some metal features on his neck and torso. Final bits of grey are now being dotted onto his chest. Wonderful close-up of my thumb. Apologies for that. But look, you can see he's coming along now. Look at that arm. Took the paint wonderfully well. All those sections, the shadow has just hit perfectly. It's really popping now. My idea is starting to come together, luckily. We're now going to try and get rid of one of these big sections of white that's still left. We're going to do his trousers next with Absolution Green. As I mentioned earlier, most of the drawings, he's either in like a brown, leathery, I don't know, pants or dark grey. Neither of which I fancy doing, so green it is. I'm going to make sure I load up enough that it collects well in his creases. At the same time, I don't want to overload it. I want you to know it's green. I'm going to make sure there's no real pooling happening. Also, I don't want to have any scrape marks from my paintbrush, which is an issue I find with the Games Workshop brushes for some reason. They definitely have a habit of leaving brush strokes behind. May also just be how I paint with them. Now at this stage, you may be worried because the green looks super bright. I acknowledge that. It is pretty damn bright at this stage. This will darken down when I put the black wash on everything. But it also does darken as it dries. It's a very strange green. Thinking of using it on a salamander space marine, because I think it will work well for them. But yeah, he needed that pop of colour. If I'd have done his pants brown or even dark grey, I think he'd be very dull. There's one thing I don't want Mean Machine to be, and that is dull. Just got to get these final belt buckle bits without being too messy. I know on the front here you can see I've overflowed a little bit. That's easy to tidy up with white paint if you're worried about it. I'm not. I want a finished model. I want to be playing with him. I want him headbutting Judge Dredd on the table. But yeah, I am loving the look of this model right now. So good. Holy White is now going to get used on the t-shirt. This in no way is a white paint. You need to understand that before you use them. It's more of a grey. It will make a white grey, but if you then dry brush it back up to a white, it looks really good and really crisp. Don't go in expecting it to be white, because it is not. Gonna make sure we get a good coverage on it. Get all the sections, make sure the creases are all going to get some shadow forming. Luckily it doesn't matter if I go onto the metallic arm. Just add some more extra layers to that. A very quick step now, Slaughter Red. We're going to do his eye lenses. He's just got the one red eye. Very iconic. Could also splatter this on the blade if you wanted to. No real need for that. Right, at this stage, he is pretty much done, but as I'm looking at the model, his boots don't look right. So I need to fix that. So I just grabbed the Grim Black. I'm going to use that for the main body of the shoes. Not the, what would you call it? The thigh? No, thigh's higher up, you idiot. The shin guards, there we go. I'm going to keep them the sand golem colour, but the actual boot aspect, I'm going to use black. Just to darken it down. I think he was just too bright. It was standing out too much against the grey concrete. So we're just going to knock it back with this. This will probably show some sand golem through still. It'll just look like a super dark brown, hopefully. We'll see later on. And there we go. We're pretty much done now. All I gotta do is wait for it to dry and then we'll come back with some photos. So see you in a bit. And there we go. All I've done is added a little black wash to help darken down the gun arms and on his trousers. Super happy with this model. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like, shared, and all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next video soon. Cheers for watching.